Hey, this is One Take Frank, and today I'm going to show you how to make lasagna. So with that, the first thing we need to do is start with our sauce. I like to make a Bolognese sauce with a little bit of chopped meat, and I use 2 pounds of 90% lean chopped meat. Now I already have my pan heating up, and I typically do not use any oil for this. The 10% of the fat in this 90% lean chopped meat is going to be my oil. I try and keep it as less fattening as I can. So my pot is already hot. I already turned it on. And I'm going to just add my meat right to the pot. And I'm going to use a wooden spatula to kind of separate it and get it going there a little bit. So that's good. You don't have to come here right yet. And while that's starting to heat up in my pot, you can hear it start sizzling. Since you're already here, starting to sizzle a little bit. I'm going to just break it up and just let that go. Checking it periodically. All I want to do is typically just get this chopped meat. I just want it to get brown. And I'm going to add my onion right to the chopped meat and let that cook for a little bit. Once that cooks with the chopped meat, I'm going to drain off any excess fat. Then I'm going to add my crushed tomatoes to that, and I'm going to let that cook for about an hour. Let it simmer for an hour. So while that's going, I'm going to put my ingredients together for the lasagna. So what I've done already is, I typically do not like to use grated mozzarella. So I just grab a 1 pound brick of mozzarella you would get in the supermarket, and I just slice it, just like I sliced the first one. Just go right down, just slice the little slices just like this. And what I do is I layer this in my lasagna. I find this works out a lot better. So my ingredients are going to be 2 pounds of mozzarella, 2 pounds of ricotta cheese, 2 eggs, 2 pounds of lasagna noodles, 2 cans of tomato sauce, and 2 pounds of 90% lean chopped meat. If you do decide to use your turkey meat or chicken, then I would add a little oil in the pan when you're sautéing that meat. Now this was an easy recipe to remember because just think of Noah's Ark. Just like the Lord asked Noah to bring 2 of every animal into the ark, they came in 2 by 2. This recipe is 2 of everything. Last piece right here. That's it. And I'm going to stick this back in the refrigerator because I'm not quite ready to layer everything yet. Typically what I do is, once my sauce gets going, I turn the water on for the lasagna noodles to boil. And once those lasagna noodles are done, that's when I'll put everything together. So we got this meat going pretty good here. It's not sticking to the bottom of the pan. I don't know if you can see that. Let me get some light on there. Just keep going. See how it's still raw in the middle, but it's starting to get brown on the edges. And this is going to kind of cook in the sauce too as you get it going. So on the bottom here, I'm starting to get some the grease from the meat going, and I am cooking this on high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just throw in my onion right now. I'm going to just use 1 medium onion. I diced it up already. Let that go right on top of there for now. Let that steam on the top. Then to keep that covered. We're going to go back here. I'm going to show you how I do the ricotta cheese. So I'm going to use the 2 pounds of ricotta. And in that I'm going to put 2 eggs. This is going to kind of hold it together. Okay. And then I'm going to use a little salt, a little pepper to taste. And I like to put in a little bit of dry parsley in there. One Take Frank is breaking the place apart. Just a little bit of parsley, maybe half a teaspoon. And I use salt and pepper to taste. I'm going to typically use probably about half a teaspoon of pepper. Maybe half a teaspoon of salt. Again, I always try and watch the salt intake. Get rid of these for now. And then, very easily, just with a fork, I'm going to just mix this together with a fork. Kind of fold it in. Bring it around. There you go. Once you get it folded in pretty good. And I kind of start giving it a good mix, so the parsley and the pepper and the salt won't go flying all over the place. You want to get it back to that white consistency. You don't want to see any egg yolk anywhere. And that's it. So I'm going to just put this in the refrigerator just like this, and we're going to save it for later. We've got our mozzarella cheese now ready to go. And what I'm going to do now is, remember, we're going to take out our trusty food mill. Now, I remember I told you in one of those episodes I like that old one that's kind of broken that I've had for about 40 years in the family. But I tell you, ever since one of the episodes, I used this one, and I've kind of been using it all the time now. It's actually not bad. It doesn't have the torque that the other one has. They're kind of pressed, but it does a pretty good job. And I like the fact that it has its legs here to stay over the pot. It'll hold it over the pot when you actually put the tomatoes, crushed tomatoes through it. So, take a look right now. Here's what we got going. It's going pretty good. You just want to get nice and brown all the way around. I'm going to let that go for a couple minutes. There's a couple of red spots I see here. And as you can see on the bottom, see the juice starting to form on the bottom, the grease? I'm going to drain that off at the very end. That does look pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drain that excess fat off. And how I do that is I'm going to just put the lid over the pot. Just crack the lid over the end a little bit. Use my little dish towel here to hold it, because it is hot on the lid. And I'm going to just drain that off. See a little bit of grease coming off the top? There's really not much in here because it is like a 90% lean meat. It's mostly juice than it is fat. It looks pretty good. Now this is going to cook in here for like an hour anyway. So I just try and brown a little bit. And now you can hear it starting to sizzle again. So now is the time to put our crushed tomatoes in. I'm going to get my food mill out. Look how nicely that just stands right over the pot. I'm going to splash some into my water pot there. Alright, you're going to just give that a spin. You work out all the, press all the sauce through. Remember, this food mill just takes the pulp of the sauce, pushes everything through, and it leaves the skin and the seeds behind. Which I particularly do not like that. If you like the skin and the seeds, then you could just pour right into the pot. It doesn't matter. You don't need to use a food mill. And what I like to do is I'm going to just take these cans, I'm going to just rinse them out with a little bit of water, get the excess sauce in there, mix it from one can to another. Give this a good little rinse. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now if you take a look at the bottom of this, I'll show you what I mean. See all this pulp that's stuck to the bottom? All this is what you want to get off and get it into your sauce, because that is part of the sauce. It's actually the meat of the tomato right there. Okay, so that's it. We're going to let this go for about an hour. We bring it to a boil, then let it simmer. And we'll let it simmer for like an hour. And the one thing I want to do too is I do want to put a little salt in here. You know, a lot of my friends tell me, how come you don't use garlic in your tomato sauce? I mean, there's sometimes I do with certain sauces. Sometimes I don't. This is one of the ones I don't really use it for. Or the ricotta bowl recipe. And that's it. I'm going to give this a good stir. And we're going to bring that to a simmer and let it go for an hour. Okay, we still have about half an hour to go on our sauce or so. But I want to just drop our lasagna noodles into the boiling water. I just want to see how the water should be boiling and how you have to just keep a stir on those noodles. So come on over here. Take a look at my water. See how the water's boiling like that? You want it bubbling like that. Then you're going to take your lasagna noodles and just kind of place them in. Just so they go in the pot. Just like, I want them all submerged. So I'm going to just kind of put them in the pot so they all kind of submerge. Just like that. And this happens to be a perfect size pot because you want the noodles to kind of go in this way. Once they're in, you see the boiling kind of stop right now. But now it's kind of key that you kind of work your spoon in there and you want to just start stirring it. You want to just keep it moving so they don't stick together. That's the key. And again, just follow the directions on your box, how long to cook the noodles for. So that's pretty much it. I just want to show you that part. The water's going to come back to a boil. I'm going to let it go to like a boiling, but I don't want it to be a vigorous boiling because it'll kind of spill over. So once the water starts boiling again, I'm going to lower my temperature so it's a boil, but it's kind of a moderate boil. And I'm going to just keep my spoon in the pot and keep it going so they don't stick together. Okay, once they're done, we'll be back and we'll put this lasagna together. Back, and our pasta will be done in approximately, right now. I was going to say 4 seconds, but it's good. So again, you follow directions on the pot for cooking instructions. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just kind of drain off most of this hot water off of the lasagna noodles first. Because these lasagnas are going to be really hot to touch. And they're also going to be kind of stick together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some cold water, pour about half the hot water off. I'm going to pour some add some cold water into the pot. And I'm going to just kind of swirl it around to kind of cool the noodles off a little bit. And let's see how that looks. Let me just give this a good mix. Get the temperature down. And I'm going to just feel one. And I tell you the truth, they're still kind of hot. So I'm going to pour some more water off. It's okay if you lose a noodle or two, because we're going to just pick that up. Okay, there we go. I'm going to do this one more time with the water. Now we can definitely pour this off into our strainer. There we go. There's our lasagna noodles. I'm going to just let it drain over here in our pot. And now we're going to make our little assembly line here. So my sauce is done. I'm going to just turn that off. I'm going to get my mozzarella. And I'm going to get my ricotta. And I want to just grab a little Parmesan for the top. Okay. So I'm going to get my sauce right here on top. Look at that, still boiling. And I just stirred it a couple minutes before I just turned it off. All right, so if you come closer, what I'm going to do is this. When you take your sauce, for the bottom of the pan, we're going to just coat the bottom of the pan so the noodles don't stick. And they'll give a nice saucy feel. So you want to just try and get sauce only. And try not to get the meat in there if you can. So we got the bottom of our pan coated with the tomato sauce. I gotta tell you, look at this nice sauce though. This would be a great Bolognese sauce actually, if you just over pasta just like that. So even though this noodle is broken, it doesn't really matter, because we're gonna just we're gonna layer it up on the side of our lasagna pan. Now these actually noodles came out really good. See, notice how they're not sticking together? That's actually perfect. So we're gonna just layer our noodles in the pan, just like we're doing here. Up the side a little bit, okay. Put one more noodle right here. Now, if you ever, I'm going to just layer this, our mozzarella next. Just putting these pieces, just laying them down like that. That's all there is to it. To me, this works out a lot better than using like a grated mozzarella, I find. Next we're going to do is we're going to get our meaty sauce. Now, this is where you want the meat to come in, because this is going to be your layer of meat sauce right here. Now, it's optional too, once you're done with this, if you want to put a little Parmesan on top of this layer. Totally up to you. Just put it down just like I'm doing and spread it around. You know, also, while this is cooking in the oven, it all kind of settles together too. It all comes kind of together in the oven. And you know, speaking of ovens, the most important part, didn't preheat my oven. So you want to preheat your oven to 350 when you're doing this. While you're doing this. Okay. So there is my first layer. So it's just the meat and the mozzarella cheese. Now this layer here, I'm going to just kind of put the noodles going the other way. Again, you don't have to do it this way. Any way you want. I just find that this works best. A couple broken pieces, but that's okay. Notice too how these lasagna noodles came out too. They did not stick together, which is just what you want to have happen. This lasagna pan also has been a long-time friend of the family. I believe this was like a shower gift we got maybe when we first got married. I don't want to give away how old I am because I know you think I look rather young, but I've been married for almost 33 years, if you can believe that. Layer of ricotta cheese. So this, you use a rubber spatula, and all you're going to do is just kind of just put this on right here in the middle, just like this. Okay, and then we're going to just spread this all through this layer. All right, so that's our ricotta. Now we're going to go ahead and layer this again. That's just going to be ricotta, no sauce on this layer. So I'm going to lay out my noodles again, just like this. You want to make sure you don't have the noodles overhanging the top, though. You want to make sure they're in. That's why I'm kind of pressing it in. See how I have that? I want the noodles to be down. You don't want anything hanging up over the top of the edge of the pan. This is going to be our final layer. We're going to use our mozzarella. I feel like I'm in a casino dealing out some cards. One for me, one for you, one for you, one for me. Two for me, two for you. There you go. Perfect. There you go. Nicely put. Next I'm going to put my last layer of our meaty sauce. Our Bolognese sauce, which actually I got to tell you, smells really good. Looks really good. Alright, going to do our final layer of noodles. Then lastly, I'm going to just cover the rest with our the leftover sauce that we have. Now, just so you know, this is a recipe. Remember I told you the old Noah's Ark thing where 2 of everything? So if you want to make half the size, very easy. Now you just use 1 of everything. 1 can of sauce, 1 pound of meat, 1 pound of ricotta, 1 pound of mozzarella, 1 pound of noodles, 1 egg, and you're good to go. You just cut your recipe in half. So now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take a little Parmesan cheese, and I'm going to just sprinkle that on top. Just like that. Here we go. Now it's ready for the oven. So now, I keep this covered with aluminum foil, and I bake it in the oven at 350 for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you take the aluminum foil off, and I let it cook for another 15 minutes on 350. Then once that's done, I take it out of the oven and let it rest for 15 minutes before I cut it and serve it. So, before I put the aluminum foil on, I want to show you a little trick that my dad came up with years ago. So the aluminum doesn't stick to the pasta, because you don't want, if the aluminum starts touching the pasta, it kind of burns, and you get that burn look on it, and you don't want to eat that because it's really not healthy for you. So my father came up with these sticks. Now, my father's been gone for about 18 years, but these 2 sticks are still the sticks that he used originally. So I kind of use those, and then the rest of them are just chopsticks that I got, and I kind of put them across here like this. And what this will do is this is going to keep the aluminum foil from touching your lasagna. There you go. Just like that. It'll keep it high enough away, so it's good. So now I'm going to cover my lasagna. You know there are, I don't know if you know this or not, but there are 2 sides. If you saw me looking at the aluminum foil, there is a right way and a wrong way to put aluminum foil down. The shiny side is supposed to be up away from you, and the non-shiny side is supposed to be down. I think I said that right. I hope I said that right. Okay, so I'm going to just stick this in the oven. And we're going to cook this for 45 minutes on the medium rack. And we're going to come back in 45 and see how we did. We're back now. It's been 45 minutes and the lasagna in the oven is done. I'm going to just uncover it now, take the aluminum foil off, and let it go for another 15 minutes, okay? So, we'll see how it looks. You know what I'm going to do, I think? I'm going to just take this aluminum foil off while it's in the oven. Just like that. I recommend you taking it out. Don't try this at home, kids. I'm going to just take this aluminum foil off because it is kind of hot. Okay, there we go. Ah, can you see that? Look how it looks now. I got those sticks on there. I'm going to still leave them there because when we're done after the 15 minutes, we're going to let it rest for 15 minutes on the counter. So while that's resting, I'm going to cover back up the aluminum foil. But not too bad, huh? Looks pretty good. All right, let's get that back in for the other 15 minutes uncovered, and we'll take it out. Okay, we're back now. The lasagna was cooking uncovered for 15 minutes under 350 heat. We're going to take that out now. Ooh, that does look good. And you know what looks good too? Looks like my wife got some brand new oven mitts here. We're going to use these right now. Ooh. Oh man, I'll tell you what, this is one heavy duty lasagna, and I mean heavy. All right, so here's our lasagna. I'm going to leave these sticks on until we're done because I'm going to let it rest for 15 minutes. We're going to come back, we're going to cut it, we're going to serve it up. But I just want to show you one thing. I'm looking at the lasagna for one reason. I don't see it on the lasagna, it might have been something else. But here's something. If you look at the bottom of your aluminum foil, okay, and you see a mark like this mark right here, see that black mark? That means that somewhere this aluminum foil was touching the pasta at some point. But I just don't happen to see it on the pasta. I might have just burned it off. Oh, it must have been right here. It was right here, burned off. So anyway, that's it. So I'm going to cut that off in the middle. But just so you know, you don't want to have aluminum on your pasta. You want to get rid of it. All right, so I'm going to cover this up, let it stand for 15 minutes. We'll be back. We're going to cut it. We're going to serve it. And we're going to enjoy it. Okay, we let the lasagna stand for 15 minutes. Now we're going to go ahead and uncover it. And see what we got here. I don't know. What do you people at home think? I can tell you what I think. It looks pretty good. I mean, honestly, I'll take it one step further. I think it looks excellent. So what I do first is I use this steak knife. I don't know why. I just like the way it has this point to it, and it just kind of cuts right to the bottom all the time. So I'm going to just score this whole lasagna at first using this steak knife. So I'm going to try and make it so it's like 3 slices across and 4 slices down. Now you can just change it any way you want. I just happen to know the portion sizes that we have here in my family, how they eat it, so that's the way I do it. Now you don't notice how I'm doing this up and down motion, because if you kind of just pull it across, you're going to just kind of rip the noodles up. So that's why I kind of just do this up and down motion. Try and get a nice little consistent go at it here. All right, I think we're good. Now, ooh, that tastes good. Now what I try and do is, I have this spatula that came with this lasagna pan. Never used to use it until recently. I gotta say, this is the best lasagna spatula I've ever used. Works really well here. So now I'm gonna just, again with my spatula, just make sure everything is scored clean through. Now the first slice is always the hardest slice to get out, but I think I did it all right. There you go. Doesn't look too bad. Got a piece of string lasagna right here. And there you go. It should just come out that easy. There's your lasagna. And I'm going to just serve that with one of my favorite vegetables, which is broccoli rabe on the side. And there you go. Lasagna, side of broccoli rabe, and you're good to go. Okay, one take, Frank. Thanks for tuning in again today. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. And hopefully see you next time. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless you.